What if I told you that the biggest argument on the internet, statutes aren't law versus of course they are, isn't about paperwork at all? It's about who owns you, who has control over you, your will, your energy, your time. Today we're going to be pulling back the curtains on both sides. The spiritual sovereignty crowd that says you were born free, and the legal tacticians who say the statutes themselves are the key to freedom. And by the end, you will see why both sides are right and what makes them wrong, okay? Now, before we dive into this video, this is not legal advice. This is not financial advice. Do your due diligence, okay? Number two, if you're brand new, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, tap into the channel, all right? My goal is to help you guys become free, not only financially free, spiritually free. And it does start with your finance in some areas, and maybe it starts on the spiritual side for some people. But whatever the case may be, you have to start somewhere to unlock your total freedom, okay? So thank you for watching the video. Let's dive into another one, okay? So I want to first preface this by talking about one of the comments that I got in my most recent video that I did yesterday, talking about the sovereignty conversation, okay? What true sovereignty is, okay? And obviously in the video, I've talked about the statutes, and I always talk about the statutes in my videos. Now, this specific comment I'm going to bring up is, it says, be careful what you say. Statutes are not law. First National Bank of Shreveport only apply to public servants and elected officials, not the people. Codes are not law. Okay, they got this from another court case. And he proceeds to say that we are not bound by institutions created by fellow men. Cruden v. Neal, Supreme Court ruling, never overturned. 18 U.S.C. 111. You might, you and I are not the same on 18 U.S.C. 99. Appreciate you, man. Appreciate you, George, man. Shout out to you, man. Thank you for empowering the community and open up people's eyes, okay? And I thank you for listening to this video. If you do watch this video with an open mind, all right? So these type of comments is what kind of like, number one, it promotes the sovereign citizen conversation. And it also promotes something that we can find legal backing on it, but it's not a legal tool. It's not a weapon that you can really use against the corporations, okay? But we're about to talk about that, all right? Well, I'm not going to sit here and say that you can't use it as a weapon against corporations, but it is very hard to do, okay? And you have to be able to mix it to the corporate side and not just make it about spiritual because, well, let's first talk about what the system says, okay? A statute is a written law passed by Congress or your state legislature, okay? Once signed, it becomes part of the U.S. Code, enforceable by courts, cops, and contracts. That's the structure of modern government. Legislative authority creates rule, executive power enforces it, all right? But on a sovereign side, we may ask a deeper question. Can any man make law over another without consent? And they will see statutes as corporate policies applying only to public officials or anyone who consents to operate inside that jurisdiction. And both parts are right. However, they're in the same system, okay? Even though one could be true, for the most part, we are deeply rooted into the jurisdiction, okay? And one is not wrong to say that, and I can make the argument that you waive your rights or your rights are not waived until you contract for them to be waived. So I get that, right? And that's for the most part. This is why they're able to commit commercial fraud and this, that, and the third on us, because we consent unknowingly. We contract unknowingly, okay? It's also the idea that an authority only exists through consent. And this is the obvious view when we were thinking of the spiritual and the more sovereign conversation. Every statute, code, and regulation is seen as a commercial agreement, a kind of social contract written by a corporate government. If you never knowingly sign that contract, the argument goes, You remain under natural law, not statutory law. So in their eyes, the people are sovereign beings and the state is a corporation offering terms of service, okay? And the reason why I set up this way, and the reason why when you think of the spiritual angle, it'll put us above contracts and commercial laws, because we were created by divine creation. Now, I don't want to get too deep and too spiritual here. Let me know in the comment section if y'all want me to do the separate angle where I do a full deep dive, speaking from more of a spiritual perspective and a more sovereign perspective. Let me know if y'all want me to do that. I might actually just do that, just to make have you guys see both sides. Okay. But law is a contract. Okay. And I can agree to that. All right. It's not a command. Some people think of the laws as a rule. Okay. Another thing I want to kind of just talk about is, he said, Cruden versus Neal means we are not bound by law. It's technically out of context because it dealt with the jurisdiction under the 18th century Admiralty rules. Okay. And when he talks about 18 USC 911 and he talks about the you and I aspect, it's duh. I mean, absolutely. They're in two entities in a sense, but it doesn't separate you from the consequences, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? You can make the distinction that you and I are different, but well, tell me in what way will that even apply to an actual argument? Okay. At least in a courtroom. Okay. I would just say that these laws and court rulings do matter and do carry weight, but that's not the whole story. You know, we'll throw these out there and then now it's just, we're not bound by law and this, that, and the third. I don't have to follow the law. You know what I mean? That is not what that means. And that's not what I would hope one would start to maneuver as, just because you learned some, you know, new information. Okay. You have to be strategic and you have to have strategy, no matter if you're looking at it from a more spiritual perspective. Okay. But the idea from the spiritual side is the fact that you can, if you consent, then somebody can essentially uphold you to their law, but only if you consent. All right. But here's the twist. Okay. And this is what's going to break this whole thing down. Banks thrive in a gray zone between those two realities. Okay. They write contracts that invoke statutes when it benefits them and hide behind private policy when it doesn't. Okay. So they'll cite 15 USC 1692 to claim compliance, but then ignore 15 USC 1681 when they mess up your credit reports. Okay. To the spiritual side, this is proof that the system is fake. But on the statutory side, this is proof that you need to know the codes better than they do. Okay. Ignorance is the real prison. Okay. We can agree on that no matter what, whether this is spiritual, whether, this should not be happening and God wouldn't allow this, right? Whether we know the system is fake, whether we know that everything around us is a figment of our imagination or our perspective or whatever light is reflecting on our eyes, right? That this can be a simulation or a matrix, in this game, in this fake system, you got to know the statutory side so that you can be able to take ownership over your power. Okay. So you can reclaim your power and your energy. But if you decide to throw your hands up and say the system is fake, and you only know that because of maybe what you read, and that's all you can do is throw your hands up and say the system is fake and you're not going to do anything about it. This is why you cannot just rely on conspiracy. You have to be able to learn the legal merit behind things so that you can be able to actually take action. Or else what are we going to do? Just continue to talk about it and get emotional about it? Because when we're talking conspiracy, we are being emotional. And yes, this person brought up actual laws that we can go look up. But how would you use that in an argument? And don't worry, I'll go ahead and make a video on it, on how you can use the spiritual side in your argument. So make sure you subscribe for that video. I'm not going to do that in this video because my goal is to really bring the truth, really bring the realness to you. All right. I don't want you to get up in your head about a you and I. Okay. Some of us will say that and say, well, damn, You and I, okay? Then when you pull up 18 USC 911, this is why I tell you to actually go look at it for yourself. Because maybe this person seen this in like a letter template or something like that. But under 18 USC code 911, it says citizen of the United States. Whoever falsely or willfully represents himself to be a citizen of the United States shall be fined under this title or imprisoned not more than 3 years or both. So it really has nothing to do with you versus I, okay? Or the idea that there are two versions of you, okay? When they're talking about you and I, they're referring to your living being and your corporate entity. This is a fact. So there are some people that claim that you refers to just the legal fiction and I refers to the living man or woman, but that interpretation does not appear in 18 USC 111 or in any case law that is interpreting it. So no court, lawyer, or judge will read it that way, okay? And I'm not trying to play semantics, and nor am I going to sit here and say that there isn't a hidden. The thing is about the law is that it's not a hidden meaning, okay? Yeah, it may not make a sense, you know, and it may take a little bit of understanding the language of it, but it says whoever falsely and willfully represents himself to be a citizen of the United States shall be fined under this title or imprisoned not more than 3 years. So how can this be used in a debt discharge or a private banking conversation? Okay. So again, just back to the merit. This can mean something, right? But because you could argue that you're not a citizen of the United States. But if you're benefiting from the United States, even though you may not, like, we could argue that you wasn't born in the United States. We can argue that. But if you are using the tools in the United States, then you fall under the category of a citizen. At least that's how I feel, okay? Because this you versus I idea comes from more of like the sovereign citizen and the free man on the land teachings, okay? Not from actual legal text. So you have to be careful, all right? What this is more psychological and symbolic, not really legal, okay? In US law, there's no separation between this. So you have to be very strategic and make sure that you are coming from an angle that is more legal focused, okay? If you look up this, it's just going to talk about falsely claiming citizenship, okay? So this typically will only apply if we're talking about you being an illegal alien, claiming you're a citizen, okay? And this is a criminal statute, okay? How would this even like go against what it is that they are saying about you? Like if they say that you're not a living and breathing person and you come up and you say, well, under 18 USC 911, it says whoever falsely and misrepresents itself as a citizen, like that just don't make sense. Okay? So for you got to be careful about what you read and don't just because you see a code or somebody puts a phrase by the code means that that's what the code is. Okay? So let's just talk about just the spiritual argument real quick. All right? They'll say you're born under natural law, not man-made codes, which makes sense. The all caps name on your birth certificate is a corporate entity, which is you, the living soul, the divine property. And the statutes govern the paper person. The conscious governs the living being. Your consciousness is who you are, your spirit. Okay? And the statutes govern your strawman. Now, this concept I agree with. Okay? Natural law has 3 rules. Do no harm, commit no fraud, keep your word. That is moving in honor. The goal isn't anarchy, it's alignment with higher law. To reclaim sovereignty means to act with awareness in every contract, in every signature, and in every yes. If you truly want to be sovereign, it's not about you getting excited about these spiritual, facts and superpowers, thinking that you're going to become Superman or get unlimited access to money. But in order to be sovereign is to reach a full consciousness, to be fully aware of what's going on around you so that you can actually make decisions in your life. So you can actually make the right decisions for you. That's true sovereignty. Okay? It's almost like a person that doesn't know that eating McDonald's every single day is going to make them fat, right? But as soon as they know, they can argue by saying, hey, I I don't have to eat fries or, I don't have to not eat McDonald's. But if you just eat McDonald's and let's just say you don't take care of yourself or go to the gym or follow the rules that your body wants it to follow, then yeah, you're choosing I mean, that is a level of freedom. You're choosing to do that. But for a person who doesn't know that, they think that they're just getting fat because that's just etched in them. No, you're just ignorant to what can actually do for you, what can actually feed into your body, heal your body, okay? What actually help you grow muscle, become skinnier. Yeah, you feel like you're trapped in your body or your shortfalls because you don't know how to fix them. So if you're truly wanting to be sovereign, then you should take the law serious, okay? The statutes serious. So let's just talk about the legal reality. Courts are going to reject straw man arguments, okay? But if you have a statute argument, then that is enforceable. So your greatest weapon, don't look at, yes, you are not controlled by the statutes, right? No, it's not a rule or a law that you must follow, but it's a weapon. See, the statutes are literally put in place to create an obligation for the corporation and give rights to you. And if you go out there and you say statutes aren't real or statutes aren't bound to you, then you are literally waiving your rights. Because what other argument will you have to stand on? What other argument are the courts going to actually honor? This is why my videos are statute focused and not sovereign citizen focused. Because I'm not just here trying to entertain you. I actually want you to be able to do this for yourself, to be able to overcome those bad situations. I spoke to a guy that says that, I spoke to a couple of people that say their house is about to get foreclosed on and things of that nature. And sometimes we get in situations where we pay somebody to do all the work for us. We don't understand what they did. We pay this money, they send it out, and then a month or a year later, the bank does what they was going to do anyways, and you really have nothing to stand on, okay? So, 15 U.S.C. 1692, under the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act, is your weapon, okay? That is your shield. That is your rights when it comes to debt collection, all right? They're not mentioning anything about, sovereign citizenship, but they do mention the aspect of somebody proving that they have authority to collect debt on you, which also sounds very spiritual. But we're going to say statutes aren't law. That sounds like the statute is trying to protect your rights, okay? But then we talk about 15 U.S.C. 1681, which is the Fair Credit Reporting Act, protecting your privacy when it comes to credit reporting, which is also a God-given right that is codified in the Constitution under a statute. All right. Now, it's not going to be as open as and spiritual as it actually is, but broken it down so that a corporate structure or commercial structure can be able to understand it, apply it, and put it into procedures. Okay. 15 U.S.C. 1601, the Truth in Lending Act, specifically talking about lending. Okay, consumer credit transactions, which is the reason why you are in debt. A consumer credit contract, a mortgage, an auto loan, a credit card, your utility bill. So don't run from the system by claiming that you don't have to be a part of the system. Or don't even think that going private is going to eliminate you from the system. You get what I'm saying? That is the point in my videos when I'm talking about the truth about sovereignty. Because a lot of people think that sovereignty means that you will have no more obligations. You don't have to do anything. You're going to be free. But if you still work a job, you're still in the jurisdiction. Okay? If you own a business, you still are in the jurisdiction in some way. Okay? If you're going to use the dollar, you're still in the jurisdiction. Okay? If you're going to use credit, you're still in the jurisdiction. If you're not planning to go off the grid, you should just stop this sovereign citizen argument. Okay? Because you got to have real legal merit behind what it is that you're going to actually communicate. I agree that we are sovereign citizens, even in spirit, right? But We are on, we're in a completely different, we're not in a universe that we created. We're not in a system that we created. Or you're in another person's system, not a system that you created. Does that make sense? Which is why the point of my content is to take you from being a consumer to a creator to somebody that's actually in control of their life. Now, here's the meeting point. Natural law says that consent is sacred. I agree with that. Statutory law says that contracts are binding. It's the same principle, but it's a different dialect, okay? So, when you sign a loan agreement, you've given consent in writing, a contract, which is a contract under law, okay? When you withdraw that consent through a notice or a rescission, you are exercising your natural law choice. The two aren't opposites, they're a loop. A conscious agreement creates law and an unconscious agreement creates slavery, okay? It's still spiritual at the end of the day. When you sign that without consciously knowing what you are signing into, you made the choice to waive your rights. You made the choice to follow statutory law, but you just wasn't aware of that. After you sign that agreement, you fall under statutory law. Now, the statutory law is codified to allow you to still be able to exercise natural law, but that's what remedy is. And remedy can only come if a person challenges or exercises their rights. That's the only way that remedy will come. It's not going to come for you, or they're not going to do it for you. Okay? So think of it like energy. Natural law is the current, statutes are the wires. And if you don't know how the circuit works, you'll get shocked. If you do, you can light your own city. The real freedom isn't living outside the system, it's being awake inside it. Being awake inside the system. I think that's super powerful because a lot of us want to get out the system or whatever the case may be. But have you ever heard of lucid dreaming? Astral projecting. Wouldn't you want to be awake inside your dream? Like if this is a matrix, right? Let's just say you had a bad dream, but then in the middle of that dream, you started to lucid dream. You can start to transition that dream into a positive dream. What if I told you that life was like that? What if I told you that you can actually create your own reality, but you just got to put in the work. You got to be real with yourself. All right. So here's how you're going to be able to gather the proof and how you're going to be able to start practicing. You want to keep every letter and email that you send to them and that they send to you. Okay. When it comes to debt discharge, when it comes to private banking, when it comes to communicating with a debt collector, you should always start with communicating with them in writing. Using things like debt validation, using things like conditional acceptance, right? And as a matter of fact, specifically, the things that you want to make sure to tap into, or as a matter of fact, this is the real forbidden knowledge. You don't fight outside the law. You use it better than they do. After you have taken through the administrative process, you then demand for arbitration. You take it to small claims because even on the arbitration side, most banks fear this because it costs them thousands per case and only you $200, okay? Then you want to send a notice of claim citing the specific code violations, not vague common law arguments. You want to use statutes like 15 U.S.C. 1692. You want to use statutes like 15 U.S.C. 1681. You want to use 15 U.S.C. 1601. You want to use the UCC. You want to use UCC 3-603. You want to use these different laws that not only allows you to protect yourself, but allows you to be able to be proactive and assert yourself against them. And then filing small claims of arbitration. Okay? Don't do federal court unless you got an attorney. 9 times out of 10, they're going to settle because of the law. Now, they're not going to settle privately because of the law, but this is why you do go to the court. So you can bring these statutes and facts into place. And if you can show them dishonoring the statutes, then you win your case. Does that make sense? We overcomplicate this. As a matter of fact, I won't sit here and say we overcomplicate it, okay? We want to do more than what we are supposed to. We want to do these gold checks. We want to do these different types of things. And also at the same time, we want to do things last minute. We want to be reactive instead of proactive. And that is why you end up struggling and why you're in situations where, you're in debt, or you can't overcome some of those problems that was created because of you, because you signed that contract. Okay. You gave your consent for them to waive your rights. And the only way you can take that consent back is if you challenge the time you did to see if you actually gave conscious consent. Okay. By law, you cannot do unconscionable contracts. So that's another argument. Okay. So read before you sign. Make sure you are being intentional with any contract that you do. Okay. Don't just get things just because you feel like you have to, or that's what you're supposed to do. Okay. So a lot of people got student loans because they felt like they had to. But the people that are conscious and you're thinking about going to school, try to avoid the student loans. Or if you do go on a student loan, like understand like what comes with it and be okay and accept it. Right? Because there's nothing wrong with student loans. Right? It's just credit at the end of the day if you really want to get that education. Or you can start to take your signature or sign up for things that actually you feel like you want to do, where it won't feel like debt that you are having to pay back. That makes sense. It's going to be an investment in yourself. When someone say, well, I should be able to get this stuff for free. Nah, man. Learn how to use energy and make the energy work for you. Stop trying to get everything handed to you. Okay? Now here's the big picture. Statutes change, okay? Natural law doesn't. So even though the statutes may change, be rewritten, be repealed, things like that, there's elements of natural law that have to be put in place. So this is why certain things, they may be changed, but the principle of it doesn't, okay? One is written in ink and the other is in instinct, because natural, as human beings, we want to be able to control our life and be completely free. Our job is to make the paper mirror the principle. So when justice reflects conscious, law becomes sacred. And when it doesn't, it just is commerce in a robe. So the question is, are statutes law? On paper, yes, but in spirit, only if you consent. The truth is balance. A sovereign mind inside a law-literate citizen, that is the cheat code. That is the equation. Be sovereign up here. Be an individual up here. Think for yourself up here. And still be literate of the law. Still be literate of the game that you're playing. Because a true sovereign mind can now step outside of their thinking. Okay? A true sovereign mind is thinking at high levels. And when you're thinking at high levels, you understand that life is just what it is. That what you have to do, that you have to do what it takes. And it takes what it takes. Right? So, comment the word sovereign mind down below if you've gotten this far, okay? Appreciate my guy Gregory for the comment. Keep dropping y'all comments. I may do more videos on y'all comments, okay? Number 2, tap into the school community. The link is in the description. If you want to be able to get the written breakdown of this video and all my other videos about debt discharge, about trust, about private banking, about the UCC, if you want the letters, templates, and resources that I put together, access to my AI tool that writes the letters for you. Tap into the school community. It's only $27. Okay. Once we reach 1,000 members, which we are not too far from it, the price is going to go up. Okay. Number 3, if you want to work with me one-on-one, specifically on building your credit, understanding these concepts, and building a brand, tap into the application down below. Okay. Now, obviously, if you book that link, it's only for serious people only. You have to be serious. And if you're looking to work with me, I don't work with people for free, okay? I don't, because my energy is valuable. And this is what I hope to teach you guys too, to treat your energy as value too, okay? Thank y'all for watching the video. I love y'all, and I'll see you on the next one. This video is sponsored by the Fund Yourself Academy. My step-by-step system designed to help you fix your credit, get funding, and build real financial freedom from scratch. If you're tired of feeling stuck, overwhelmed, or just ready to stop living paycheck to paycheck, this is where it changes. Inside the Academy, I break down everything from consumer law secrets that they don't teach in school to how to remove negative items and boost your score, get access to business funding, and start building multiple income streams online. Whether you're just starting out or ready to level up your game and get the bag, this is your playbook. We've got tools, templates, dispute letters, mentorship calls, private community access, and an exact roadmap I use to leave my 9 to 5 and create time freedom. But only for a limited time, you can get access to the Fund Yourself Academy on a free trial basis for the next 7 days. And then after that, you pay less than $1 a day at $27 a month if you like it. No fluff, just facts and just freedom. Go to thefundyourselfacademy.com or hit the link in the description to join now, because nobody's coming to save you, but you can fund yourself.